Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another session of Bootcamp. And today we're going to continue the Jamstack series that we've been working on. And today we'll be starting with Netlify. So we'll be doing a couple of different Hello World examples, starting with a simple Netlify example, then with a React app, and then we'll also, if we have time, we'll do a Gatsby app as well.
I just want to add something here. I've been a full stack developer all my life. That is my professional life. And the problem was that in a full stack, what I loved about full stack was that all my most of the time in the recent 2, 3 years, 5 years, I've been developing Node.js applications. On the server, Node and Express on the server, basically first mean stacks and then one stack. The issue was not the issue, but the good thing was that everything was on my repository. The client, the server code, the API calls to the database, and whatever I wanted to change, I changed it in my repo. And I loved that stuff because I had control over everything. When I started serverless, the big problem was that serverless tools, first of all, when they started off with serverless.com and other tools, the problem was that you could not do Zeeshan serverless local build.
Yes.
You built it, but you couldn't test it locally. That was the first problem. Now, but recently, that is not the problem. But it used to create so much problem for me because I used to basically first do server-side coding, then push the code to Amazon servers, then run some tests, then use it, connect it to my client. It disturbed me so much that my thought of a particular functionality was reduced to nothing. I was totally frustrated. And most probably I was one of the first developers of serverless because I recognized the capability right away. But I left it because the developer, when I'm a full stack developer, and when I'm thinking about a functionality from the front end to the back end, it has to be a continuous flow. If my flow is broken and there's too much things to do before I code and before I see my results, it creates a disruption and it's a lot of problem. Now, what I love about Netlify is it has taken serverless. Of course, what they have done is when Netlify, the first thing is right now what we are going to do is deploy it to CDN, content delivery networks. That's the first part, which is basically connected to CI/CD, and that could be done. And the good part is that the CI/CD is so easy to do; anybody can do it. So therefore, you don't need a special DevOps person to do it. The full stack is now even bigger full stack in the sense that the DevOps is also integrated with the full stack job. Anyway, the problem I was facing is which Netlify solves. Now you can deploy it on your local machine with Netlify Dev. You can deploy it immediate. You make a push or you make give a command, deploy it on the Netlify servers. And better thing is you have a directory called functions where you can write your server-side code. I love it because everything is in a single place and I am in command. And it's very easy. Everything is transparent. It's so easy. A child could do it. So let's start, Adil, and move forward.
Okay, so let's begin. I'll share my screen. Okay, here we go. So we're going to be working with our Jamstack serverless repository, and we're now on step number 13 for the Netlify Hello World. So in this step, what we want to do is create a simple Hello World application with Netlify. So it's just a basic, not even an application, just a simple HTML page that we'll be creating and then deploying it to the Netlify server. So if we get started, first of all, what you need to do is sign up for Netlify if you don't already have an account. So you can go to app.netlify.com/sign up, and it will give you a sign up form where you can sign up with GitHub, GitLab, or whatever email, and you go ahead and follow the instructions to get set up. And if you do already have an account, then you can go and sign in. So I have an account here, so I have a simple application already here. So with once you're signed up to Netlify, we'll be using Yarn to build all the applications with Netlify here. So first, you'll need to install Yarn globally. So that's just simple as running a npm install -g yarn command on your terminal, follow up by installing the Netlify command line. So, and this would also be a global install. So these two will run into the terminal. I've already done it, so doesn't really, I don't have to do this again. But if you don't already have it installed, you can go ahead and run these both commands in the terminal. And once you have that set up, you can start, and we can create the project folder, and we can use this name. So what we can do is I'll just come here in my terminal, and I'll go to my GitHub folder, and I'll create a folder here called, I'll just call it Netlify Hello World. And once it's created, I'll navigate to this folder. And once inside, um, the next step that we're trying to do is we want to create a index HTML file inside of a public folder in the main project directory. So let's open up this folder we've created in VS Code, and it's an empty folder. So first, what we need to do is create our index file, index HTML file, but it needs to be in a public folder. So this public folder would have the index.html file. And we can use Emmet here to create the basic structure and give it a title. So we'll just say hello world, or hello Netlify maybe. And in the body, we can just say hello world from Netlify and Adil. So kind of like this. And we have our simple index.html file ready to go. Next step here is we need this netlify.toml file, which tells Netlify which directory to publish on the server. So for this, so we have the public folder which contains our code that we need to publish. So in the main project folder, we can create the netlify.toml file, like this, and then inside of it, we need to tell Netlify what we want to build. So what is going to be published. So the syntax here is we want to build, and the folder that we're trying to publish is the public folder. So we call it public, like this. And that's our netlify.toml file, just a very simple one for the basic Hello World app. And then the next step here would be to start the local server with Netlify dev. So we can come here, and within our project, we can use the integrated terminal. And here we can say Netlify dev to start running the Netlify local server. And once that starts up, so we can access our application on localhost 8888, which serves as the Netlify localhost server. Okay, the next step now, we've already opened it in the browser. The next step we need to do is to log into Netlify from our local machine so we can publish the application to Netlify. So right now this is running on localhost. We want this to run on the actual Netlify server. So we want to publish this code. And for this, what we need to do is,
Adil, I want to
yeah.
add something here. Because
Mhm.
I've written this page, I was forced to do it this way. This is not the right way. This is one of the ways where I am deploying a server by hand. I'm deploying a file by hand. And basically, the problem with this is that CI/CD will not be
Yeah.
operational. The best way to do it, but my problem was I wanted to create all the steps in a single repository.
Okay. Yeah.
Therefore, what I did was I made subfolders of that repository.
Hmm.
Uh, From that subfolders, I am deploying it. But
Right.
usually, this is not the case. Usually, what the students and other developers will have to do is just make a repository and publish it and push your code to the GitHub server,
Yeah.
to GitHub. Once
Hmm.
you publish the code, you just take the URL and give it to Netlify. It is automatically keep on listening, and whenever you make a push, it will be deployed.
Okay.
So therefore, this way of doing it is my problem.
Okay.
In this way of doing it, the problem is that you every time you do it by hand. But let's do it. Uh, but the best way to do it is have one project per repository.
Yeah.
And in that case, you just have to give the URL to Netlify and it will do the rest of the job. All the CI/CD stuff and the rest of the stuff. You go ahead.
Right. Okay.
Hmm.
So we have now the local server running, and we can do a Netlify login. Leave this running and open up a new terminal and ask Netlify login here. Okay, so I'm already logged in, it says.
You
Otherwise,
just
it would, yeah,
you just have to do it once.
yeah. So once you're already logged in, or if it's your first time, it will redirect you to Netlify and ask for the
Uh,
authorization.
yes.
Um, and so we can clear this up. So we've already logged in, and now what we need to do is do a Netlify deploy command, and we're deploying production. So Netlify deploy production. And this will ask a few questions. So firstly, it's asking, what do you want to do? Either you link this directory to an existing site, or you can create and configure a new site. So we can do a new site, and it asks you which team. So I only have one team in my account right now here, so that's fine. And then you can give a site name, which would be the URL in front of the netlify.app. So this portion of the URL. So if you leave it blank, it will give a random name, or we can give a some sort of name here. So maybe we can say hello world netlify Adil Altaf, like that, and it will run this, and it says site created, and it gives us the admin URL and the URL for the public. So this is the URL that's accessible for everyone to go and make sure that it's. So now this hello world is now running on the Netlify server with the URL that we just specified. Um, so that's that, and then the
Other,
app is published. Yeah.
the app is published.
Yep.
What we are going to do is basically first notice something.
Hmm.
Go back to the code, source code. Notice,
In this one.
yes,
Yep.
notice something. there has been a file created, a directory created with the name of .netlify.
Yeah.
This has all the, basically when you uh, produce, when you have deployed it to production, all the details are in this thing.
Right.
So just so that we know. And for example, if you want to disconnect it, just delete this directory and it will be disconnected. Now, what we are going to do is try to publish it without this thing. So
Okay.
therefore, I suggest you delete this .netlify thing.
Okay. So we delete it. There we go.
And the second thing is, let's create a repo in which we are going to push this code.
Okay. So
GitHub.
maybe I'll just use desktop. This will be
Yes.
quick to do. Create a new repository. Documents, GitHub.
Have you did you build a repository beforehand? If it's there, then we don't need to do it again.
I'll just create this one.
Okay.
And then Netlify hello world app. So we can create this. I think I made a mistake. That's fine. Documents. I'll copy this. Where's my Tamil file? Here we go. Yeah, so here's our, that's everything, right?
Okay. Now publish it.
Okay, it's published.
Okay. Now we are going to go to the Netlify server, Netlify website.
Here.
Now this thing is, delete this one so that we are not confused.
So they usually have it at the bottom. Here we go. Okay. Should have been deleted. What's wrong? Maybe refresh. It's still there.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
It should be deleted, right? Try again. Hello world, Netlify. Okay, there we go. It's gone.
Okay. Now go to the, for example, some push the button, new site from Git.
Okay. Yep. Then I
And
connect to GitHub.
uh-huh.
Okay, it'll ask for the authorization. So I authorize Netlify.
Mhm.
Okay, this is authorized. Okay, so now I have to say configure Netlify on GitHub.
Yes, yes. Otherwise, it will not be able to search your repository.
Yeah, okay. So I'll install Netlify here I'll just do it on all.
Yes.
There we go. Now the one I just created is this one. And we'll stay with the master. Okay, so now it's saying you need a build command and then the public directory.
Mhm. So you don't need a build command. You just
Yeah.
see.
So I'll just do deploy site.
Mm.
It says in progress. It looks like it did it. There we go.
Yeah. This is the correct way. Now
Okay.
what will happen is, let's make some changes in your website and push it. Just say hello world from Netlify and Adil Altaf Richie Rich.
Hey, I added you guys here.
Now
And I
push
guess
the
I need
code.
to, yeah. Okay, push to origin. Okay. So it should update.
In a minute. Yep.
There
Now
we go.
you understand the power now.
Yep.
It's so simple that you don't need a DevOps guy to do anything.
We don't even
Netlify,
need to do GitHub action in this, huh?
nothing. But
Nice.
in case GitHub action is required, if you are going to do process some things instead of. Actually, I'm not a Netlify expert, so therefore I can't say there must be other ways in Netlify also. So therefore, it's
Like we
so.
did like we did for Hariko with GitHub Action. So
Uh-huh.
we implemented the GitHub Action so that GitHub Action deployed to the Hariko. So that's I guess we must have, or GitHub Action must have Netlify npm
Yeah. Yes,
using
yes, yes.
GitHub Action to deploy on
No,
Netlify.
no, no. Remember, the first thing we did was, can you get back to the
The
repository,
screen.
Adil?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you want the code here?
No,
Or
no. Remember
this one?
in the README file, yes.
Yeah.
In the GitHub actions, you are going to say give all these commands,
Yes.
Right.
and basically you are going to say, just go down,
This one. You would put
yes,
in there.
and deploy into production. This is
Yeah.
the way to do it. And you will have to also basically publish it and all the rest of the stuff. But the point is, the default given by Netlify is best for new beginners. Because the good thing is Netlify also senses whether it's a simple HTML file or a Gatsby's file or a create React app file, and does all the stuff for you.
Cool. So that
Very
was
easy.
step 13. Do we want to keep going now with the React?
And now this is step 13. The next step is 14, where we basically do. Zeeshan, would you take over? Like to take
Yes.
over?
Yes.
Hmm?
Let me share my screen first. Okay, so in step 14, what we need to do is in step 13, we have deployed a simple HTML file as a website on Netlify. Now we have, as we have learned during this bootcamp, we have learned React, we learned Gatsby. So we need to deploy them as well on the Netlify. And the main power of Netlify is to deploy static websites, to generate static website. Either you have a React, you can deploy React, your React project as well, and you can deploy your Gatsby project as well as a static site. So for step 14, we need a React. So what I did is I have just created a project with simple create React app, as you can just as we do npx create React app and whatever name you want to assign. So I have created the project demo React Netlify. That's the simple. Once you are done with it, you will have a project as we have done, as we have already seen in what you say many times. So that's a simple React application. It has app. What I'll do is I'll change the code. And to run this, generally what we do is we run the command yarn start. It will run as we have done previously, so there is nothing special in it. The special we have is the Netlify. Once you install the Netlify, as Adil mentioned, that if you install the Netlify globally, in whatever project you are using, you can use Netlify inside any project if that project is being understood by the what you say Netlify, or you can use any custom project as well. So at this moment, what we have is we can do Netlify develop. Sorry, dev. We have installed Netlify globally. There is nothing inside this project that concerns Netlify. But Netlify is a build and deployment tool. And why Netlify gives us this CLI is that you can to facilitate developer that if you are working with React or Gatsby, whatever project you are working with, you can easily deploy your project or set up or build your project easily with Netlify tool and deploy it easily on the Netlify. That's why Netlify have done this step. So what, instead of calling yarn start, I'll call Netlify dev. What it does is it will start your project, your client-side project, your proxy server both, and it's exactly the same as yarn start will do. It will also mention you can see yarn run. So it's running the same command we have in package.json, but it detecting itself. So we don't need to mention. So the good thing is either you are working with Gatsby, either you are working with the React or any other framework like Vue. So you just have to call Netlify dev instead of yarn start, Gatsby develop. You have a standardized way to start the application. So it's starting the server. Hello React. And as you can see, we have a server client side on localhost 3000 as well as localhost 8888. It will discuss this later when we'll go for the functions and all that stuff and proxy servers. So you have a server running at localhost 8888, and you can whatever change you will make, it's at the local system and my local system. So let me change something inside the hello React with Netlify CLI. I just made the change. It should be updated directly. So it's keep watching, and whenever you make any change, it will update it. So there is no difference. The only difference is you are working with the Netlify, and the good thing is you just work as a Netlify CLI, and everything will be work. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to deploy. Now we have a two style of deployment. One is the manual with the CLI command, as in previous stuff years. So I'll show you both. So what we can do is at this moment we will need a Netlify TOML file. And here we will say build. Now what we need to do is basically we need a build. We need to build. Let's say at this moment we do not have anything inside there. Generally what we do with React application, we run a command yarn build. So it generates the build folder, and then we deploy that build folder to any what you say, any hosting site. So if I do Netlify build, it will not work. Netlify has this command, but it does not know. I guess okay, it has the is one Netlify link. Okay, it needs to identify the site. So we do not have connected it to the site. So that's why what we need to do is first we need to add build, then we need to add yarn command, yarn build, publish, build. So we have a build folder which we need to publish on for the web. Now what we need to do is we Netlify login. You are already logged. Site ID. Okay. So what I need to do is I need to just
Ishan, there are two ways. Either you can link it or you can deploy it. Both. Then it
okay.
will get.
I just forget. Instead of going to instead of going with the build, I need to deploy it. Netlify deploy dash dash prod. Now it will ask me the details if you need to connect with the site or not. Okay, so either I need to use existing site or I need to create. Let me create a new one. Okay, so I'll need to use the existing theme and I'll give it a name new React Netlify. No such directory.
Yes. Sorry guys, to join a little late.
Daniel is here.
Hey, Daniel, welcome. Welcome.
Okay,
Daniel,
so
you,
running yarn build first, so it will generate the build folder for us, and then I'll call the Netlify deploy. So there is a catch between running a Netlify build very first time because it requires the site ID. If you do not have a site ID, you need to link it. So to link the site, either I call the Netlify link or I call the deploy. So it just do it. That's why Netlify build was not working, but I'll show you Netlify build as well. Now Netlify deploy prod. Now it's trying to deploy the application. Okay, so we have a website URL and we can go to that URL. So here we have the site which is deployed. So let me show the interface in Netlify. That's my new site, and it shows that it's manual deploy. So as we have done deployment with the CLI. So here we have the site, and it's as simple as we've done with the normal website which Adil has showed. The only difference is, in case of React, in case of Gatsby, we need to build a folder first, so that we have in case of React we have a build folder in which has all the compiled, or you say parsed version of React, and in Gatsby we have a static files inside our build folder. So we need to deploy that particular folder instead of complete source code. So we do not need to deploy this whole code. We just need to deploy this build folder which has the build system. So now what we can do is, that's the one way of deploying your site. Another way is, let me integrate that project with the GitHub, and then we'll deploy it with the creating a public. I'm not getting any README file. We hit this URL. We don't need the Netlify file in our repository, so I'll add it over here so it will not be available for the commit. I'll git add push region master. Meanwhile, it's being done. Let's go to the Netlify side and new site from Git. It will be the exactly same. The difference, what we need to understand is the command, and it will work with that command. Okay, so our code is pushed. We can open this URL again and okay. So it's setting up master branch, and it directly picked up. It identified itself that you need to use yarn build and build folder as a build directory, publish directory, and deploy this site. So whenever we'll push any code to the GitHub, what it will does is Netlify identifies that there is some change in your repository. Netlify runs the build. This will be exactly same for the Gatsby. We'll not have to review that separately. It will be exactly same. There is no difference if we are working with the React side or with the Gatsby side in case of deployment. So for the deployment, it will be exactly the same. It's building the code. The main advantage is you have this site over here, and you can always run Netlify app or React app or Gatsby develop. It will run on your local machine. So Netlify gives you the local environment, and you will see the benefit when you will run function. Otherwise, it will be the same as we are doing with the. You can see the logs as well if you need to.
Daniyal,
Yes,
are
sir.
you in form? Hopefully not tired.
No,
We
sir,
need
I'm
to
very
do
well. Yes.
step 15 where we deploy a Gatsby site.
Yes, sir,
Uh,
exactly. I remember. Exactly.
are you ready for it?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. As soon as
So
Zeeshan is done,
our site is live. We can go to this URL. So Netlify CLI, and whenever we'll change something inside our code, it will run the build on the Netlify and deploy the new site. So let me change a bit.
now if somebody will ask you or will
Mhm.
ask us, we have been using search. Why
Yes.
should we use Netlify and why not use search? Up to this point, there's no difference. The point comes when after we need
Function.
to deploy functions and rest of the stuff. Then the advantages of Netlify comes into play. So therefore, Daniel will. Zeeshan, are you done with it?
I'm just showing the once we push the code,
Uh-huh.
as you can see, its new build has started directly. It's building again. So once it's done, you will see the changes here.
Exactly. Yes, basically there is no any change to in deployment. It's a React application or Gatsby application. I share my screen and I show you what is the difference between React and Gatsby deployment. Sir, should I share my screen?
Go ahead.
Okay, you can see the CI/CD. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, I'm done.
Okay. Actually, Sir Zeeshan has explained already about the Netlify deployment. I just want to show you this is our Gatsby project. Just create from Gatsby CLI. And here I have installed the Netlify CLI to deploy the application on Netlify. One way is we can create a build of this project, the Hello World project from a Gatsby build, and just drag and drop it on Netlify. Like I just go on the Netlify platform again and show you here. You guys can see here, want to deploy a new site without connecting to Git, drag and drop your site folder here. Just create a build and drag your folder here. It will be deployed. Another way is you guys can connect with GitHub, Bitbucket from your repository to Netlify platform. New site from Git, just select it as the Zeeshan has already done this part. Another way is Netlify CLI. From Netlify CLI, we can also deploy the application. So that the way is simple. We just need to create a file, netlify.toml file, and we have to write the commands and script here. So first of all, the same thing as Sir Zeeshan has explained about the build part and command. This is both are very same in React and Gatsby. But here you guys can see the publish folder, the publish directory. Here we have to give public directory name. But in the React, you guys have Zeeshan has already explained it. Zeeshan wrote it here build because the build folder name is build, and in the Gatsby, when we create the build, so the build folder name is public. So we just put it the name it here public, and same process as Sir Zeeshan did in React, we have to make it in Gatsby side as well. So what I do is here right now, simple. This is a very hello world project of Gatsby. I just change the content here. Hello from PIIC. Something just add Daniyal Nogori here. Okay, and just save it as well as Sir Zeeshan have already explained about the Netlify dev. If we want to run the local server, so we have a command Netlify dev. If you want to deploy it, so definitely we want to build it first and then deploy it. If we are not going on CI/CD, so just I have to run the Gatsby build command here. Just run this command Gatsby build. Once it's built the project, and just then enter the command sudo sudo netlify deploy. Once it's done, then I will run the command. It's done. Now sudo netlify. If we want to run the project locally, so run this command sudo netlify dev. Otherwise, if you want to deploy the project, so run the command sudo netlify dash prod. And when I will enter it, because I have already connected everything, so it will not ask anything. So what I should do here, I have to log out first, then I can show you the commands of Netlify CLI. Now I just go and run the command, so definitely I will get the error. Let me show you. Sudo Netlify deploy, logging into your Netlify account. So first of all, you all guys have to log in with your CLI. So the error is unable to open browser automatically. If you are facing the same error, so what you do, just copy this command, just copy this link and run it on your browser. Once it's authorized, it will take 2 seconds. Netlify server is wrong. What's happening?
I tried again. This was giving me a hard time before as well. I did it again and
Should
it was
I
fast.
reload it?
Yeah, or
They have a
click on the
problem.
link again.
Netlify site has a problem. I have also
Ah,
faced. Day before
exactly.
yesterday, I was not able to even log in for a few hours.
Okay, but it's Sir Adil is right. When I reload it, it's authorized me. So authorize or deny. Definitely authorize it. Authorization granted. Now I'm coming back on my CLI. So now it's Netlify status. Once it's done, then I will show you. Perfect. Because I run the command sudo netlify deploy dash dash prod. So I was log out. So first I log in using this link which provided by a Netlify CLI, and once I logged in, then it's deployed. So if you have no any site, so what you will do, there is another command sudo netlify link, because I have already linked. So what I do is right now I run the command netlify unlink from my Netlify account or site. Now it's unlinked. Now I try to link it again using Netlify link command. So you guys can see here, as Zeeshan has already mentioned this all the steps. So I have already created the sites, uh, how use current get remote, search by full or partial site name, which is created by Netlify. and choose from a list of your recently updated sites. So what I should do right now, choose from a list. This is my sites on Netlify. So I select one of my site here. Let's suppose confident bedding. Now it is linked from my Netlify account. Let me show you. Here is the team and this is all sites. So I have linked with this site to my Netlify project from CLI using Netlify link command. Then I will do sudo Netlify deploy dash dash prod, and it should deploy this all changes. Waiting for deploy, it's done. Now I go and run this command. You guys can see here, hello from PIC, and I got this text, Daniyal Nogori. So nothing changed in the deployment, that is React or Gatsby. Sir, anything else?
No, perfect, perfect. Now let's move to server-side development. Now we are going to become full-stack developers. Up to now, we are only client-side developers. We know React, we know Gatsby, and we know how to deploy it. But server-side coding is a different ballgame. And what used to happen is that the front-end developers were never, there were very few full-stack developers. Most of the people were either front-end developers or back-end developers. Now, what Netlify and what Jamstack has given us is that it has made it very easy for us. Up to this point, when I started off my career, I used to develop servers in Java. Then Node.js came along and Express came along. In the recent past, I think all of us have been developing. Daniyal, have you been developing everything in Node.js or some other language also on the server side?
Sir, I use Python and Node.js.
But I was always doing Node.js, and in AI I was doing Python. But Express is, to me, is more powerful. But the point is, with Python as well as Node.js and as well as Express, the problem was that they are monolithic applications. The scalability is very limited. And in order to scale them, you need a DevOps team and so on. You need a cloud team and rest of the stuff. Now what we are going to show, Zeeshan is going to show you to you. You are going to develop a function which is going to run on the server. This is going to be actually underneath it, it's a AWS Lambda function. Netlify has adopted AWS's technology, and it also it helps us that our students, some of our students don't have credit cards, so they don't have to become
sign up on AWS.
Yeah, because AWS requires a credit card to become and the second problem is in AWS you will be developing client side separately and server side separately. Of course, recently AWS has also created competitors to Netlify, but right now we are not going into that. So the point is, right now, the function that Zeeshan is going to build for you is going to be so powerful. Why? Because it will be unlimited scalable. Now it is not Zeeshan is going to develop a server. It is called serverless programming. By serverless, you do not mean that there are no servers. By serverless, you mean, Zeeshan, what do you mean by serverless, and let's start developing this function.
Basically, the serverless mean basically you do not have to configure or manage the servers. It will be managed by the platform, the one who provide the platform. For example, Amazon managed all the scalability, all the if a function get crash, or VM get crash, anything that needs to be managed, or you need to scale too much. So it needs to be managed by the platform provider, and you don't need to do anything. You just focus on your logic, build a more efficient function for you, and it will work for you. And you do not have to worry any servers, how much you need to scale, if you have 100,000 users or 10,000 users or no user. So you do not have to increase the server, decrease the server. You don't have to worry about. If function is being used, it will be charged. It is not being used, it will not be a charge. So that's why you need
And the
to
second thing is, you have to understand it in the serverless environment. If nobody is using it, there's no charges.
donor charges.
In a monolithic application like Node.js and in Python servers, you need a virtual machine or a container which is running on a particular machine. Now, serverless containers have also appeared, like Fargate and Google Cloud Run, but they are quite new right now. The point is,
Yes.
the future is serverless. From now on, we are going to, after this section is over, we have completed this thing, Jamstack serverless. Then we are going to, Daniyal, move to e-commerce.
Yes, sir.
How to develop e-commerce applications using Jamstack and serverless applications. Then we are going to move to in-depth serverless applications, where we are going to develop end-to-end and even AI as a service, which is also AI as a serverless function, as serverless later on, and maybe blockchain as a service. The future is serverless. Nobody can compete with serverless in 3-4 years' time. All the major companies, because it is so easy. Of course, some of the banks, there will be basically a fighting between Kubernetes and serverless. Some of the companies will be using, but I think that even the companies which will be using Kubernetes will also be using serverless. So there is not a or thing. Most of the companies will be, as you will learn, Zeeshan, let's start building it, because talking about something, telling somebody how a camel looks like is very difficult. The only way to
I just need to add that as Sajid has mentioned that some platform you need either you use your service or not, it will charge. So for example, if we are using a Hariko as our server, so Hariko has a fixed cost. Either you use your service or not, either you have a user or not, it will be charged whatever price based on your service you are taking from the Hariko. But in serverless, for the function, it's based on invocation. The number of time your function is being invoked, it is called the count. It will count based on that, and charges will be done based on the number of invocation for a particular function. Okay,
and
so
for Zeeshan, even for a small site, that does not matter, because AWS gives us 1 million invocations free a month.
yes,
Million invocations
Netlify
free.
gives you 125K free functions.
And then Netlify gives us 125K.
Yes.
But AWS gives us 1 million. Million invocations. So therefore, for small site, it does not matter. There are no charges.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so let me share my screen first. Okay, so what I did is here we have a Gatsby application. It does not have, it's a basic starter application we have seen previously. So it has nothing, just a TOML file for Netlify. So Gatsby build and the publish. So inside the project, inside the directory, in terminal, what I can do is I can call Netlify dev and it will run Gatsby dev. So it's similar as Daniyal has shown to us. So there is no difference. What difference is, which you can see from here. Netlify function, I was on this same step. So on step 16, what you can do is you can call Netlify functions create hello. It will create function in your project. So first of all, you need to have a folder name function in your project. So in my Gatsby directory, what I'll do is I'll create a folder name functions.
It's important to note in the React app, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it will be exactly same functions. I created a folder name functions. Now what I'll do is I'll go to the terminal and I'll say Netlify functions colon create hello. So I'm asking to the Netlify to activate the whatever tool you have related to the function, and I'm executing a command create. So I'm saying that create a function and I'm giving it a name hello. So you need to understand that whatever name you will provide, it Netlify will create a file, JS file with that particular name. So hello.
Wow, sir, I created it manually. Netlify has also a command for to create the function.
Okay, I also need to mention it here, functions. What you were saying, Daniel?
No, Netlify also provides this command. I created it manually.
Okay, that's it. Yes. And interesting thing you will see just now. See this. Let's once the I was amazed by looking at this. It will create a function, a basic hello world or a GraphQL Lambda with Apollo server. It will there is a many features. You can select any type of function, a GraphQL gateway, Hasura, identify, sign up, fetch, auth. So it has a lot of template functions. You will just select particular function, it will give you the complete code and you just need to change based on yours. So it was very, if you want to send an email. So there are many type of functions already built in. So at this moment, we just need to show how functions work. So that's why I will select the very first one, the basic async await function. Otherwise, there are a lot
Nishan,
of
I like to add something here. I
yes.
did the steps 15 days back. At that time, this was not available.
Okay. But I saw it the day before yesterday and today. So I was amazed that you have a template for all these interesting features. Create a user, FunaDB CRUD. You have FunaDB CRUD function. So you'll just hit it and it will create a function for you, Lambda function, which will have all the FunaDB configuration and everything. I need to add your logic over here. It was quite interesting. So I'll select the hello world and it just done. What it does is it created the hello.js file inside my project. It's too much. Okay. So you can see it's in function. It has created the hello.js file, hello folder, and inside the folder of hello, it created the hello.js file, and it has a function which is called handler. So it must be named handler. So you must export a function named handler out of this JS file, and either you send a get call, push call, put call, delete call, all those functions, all those call will received here. So it's not based on function. You need to identify that particular thing yourself. At this moment, I'm not going into detail. So what you see, export.handler equals async. It has two properties, two parameters, event and context. Event will have all the information that is coming from the client. So if you are receiving query parameters, HTTP method, or body, whatever you will be receiving in event variable. So what this particular code is doing, it's calling event.queryParameter.name. It's assuming that you will send a request with the query parameter, and that parameter name will be name, and you can put any value. And then what it's trying to do is trying to send the response. So whoever call this function, it will send the response, status code 200 body JSON, and it's sending the hello world. So it's done. The function is here. What we can do is let's start this local server. Now that's what Sarja was mentioning at the start of the today's class, that instead of deploying that function first to even review or debug, we have Netlify dev. And what it does, you can see function server is listening in 59940. your Gatsby developed now, and it's starting. So what it will do is it will start your function server, it will start your client server, and it will also start your proxy server, so that because your Gatsby server will be on 8,000, your function server will be on 59940. So you need something instead of going all these ports again and again, you just run the localhost 8800. It will manage all the ports. You don't have to worry about this. I'll show you in a moment. Let it just first start the application, then I'll show you.
So therefore, on 8888, Zeeshan, it is a proxy server.
It's a proxy server, so it will send, if for client request it will send for the send to the 8,000, and for the all the server request it will go for
Right.
the URL, the port 59940. So you don't have to worry about which port you need to access. For the server you need to some other port, or for the client you need to some other port. You just have to focus on localhost 8888, and it will work for everything. It's not what happens here. Something is already on 8,000. Something.
I think you did not close the last server.
Oh, I have closed it. It's not running at this moment.
Kill the port.
On 8,000. Something is already on 8,000. So there is nothing on 8,000. Everything is closed.
Sir, check it your system monitor. There is, if 8,000 port is available, so just kill it.
Somebody is asking, can they join us right now? You can join us anytime, because
Yes.
all the videos and everything is recorded. You can just join us anytime. Our only requirement is that you submit projects, and that is for your own benefit.
Okay, so we have this. We have server also running. We have the proxy server also running, and client will be available in a while. So let me show you the functions. But Netlify /function / hello, and you can see the function we have created here is available on a particular URL. That you need to understand that your function is available on a particular URL. So your the host or your port is localhost colon 8800, and the URL you will have .netlify /functions /hello. So once you hit that URL, you as you can see, it receives the call. So if I change the code over here, let's say hello new changes. It's reloaded, and if I refresh it, as you can see, hello new changes. So it's sending the response to the client with this message. So whenever you will hit that URL, it will. So what we need to do is we have a function, we have a Gatsby, and now what we need to do is we need to call that function, that fetch, as we have seen in the fetch in previously with the React. So we need to call that fetch from the Gatsby side. So what I'll do is in the index, I'll come over here, and what I'll do is I'll try to call that function. So first we need to set up const data. And inside, and now we need to call the fetch. So as we have seen for the fetch in React, we need to call use effect function. So I'll call the use effect. And as we also saw previously when we were learning the fetch, that for function you need to call async await. If your function, if you calling with the async and await, so you need to have a async function. So what I'll do is I'll call here. What I'll do is I'll call the fetch.
I hope everybody understands that the function hello function is running on the server, not on the client.
Yes, yes. It will be deployed.
The only bad side of making things easy for developers is that they might get confused that it is running on the client.
So we'll call dot Netlify
/. Yes, same thing.
Let's pick from here. So I guess slash is not needed, but we'll see. Okay, const data await. Not JSON. Now what we will, we have seen this, we'll call the fetch, it will return us a response, and with the response we have to call the, call the JSON, and whatever we will be receiving from the server will available in data variable. So we need to see what we'll be receiving. We'll be receiving this object. This object has a property message, and inside that we have a value. So what I'll do is, I'm assuming that we have this. So set data, and because we have two variable exactly with the same name, so I'll just change the name. And inside the div, I will display the value. Data dot message. Where this data property comes from, it's from the user state, and where this message will be, it will be from this response. So we have this message property. Now it's already been built. One more thing, use effect. So we need to add this square bracket. Okay, so now let's go to the Gatsby. Okay, now you can see directly. Hello world, hello new changes from the world. I'll just change the function. Updated data. So what we have seen is the important thing is we have a Gatsby client and we have a Lambda functions. We have a serverless functions. We have developed a server which is only a particular specific logic. So you will be developing many other functions, and all those functions will be working as a separate API, and you will be calling that function as an API from your client. The good thing with the Netlify is it combines both at the single place, and you just need to start one Netlify dev and you will be working at the local, and it will give you the all the facilities. You will be working application like we have a server, and what that's what we have seen. What we can do is now we can deploy that application on Netlify, and we will see that functions will also be deployed over here. Do we need to mention anything, or should I go for the deployment?
Go ahead.
Okay.
The only thing I want to add here is
Yes.
AWS. The problem with AWS is it's a very powerful tool. The problem, Daniel, is it's a complicated tool. For newbie developers, they get confused when using AWS. And what Netlify has given is it made it very simple for an average Joe, average developer to develop client server applications, basically Jamstack serverless applications, which are unlimited scalable because your website is deployed or your React app or your Gatsby app is deployed on a CDN. On the back end, you have serverless functions which are unlimited scalable. The CDN is unlimited scalable. So therefore, 10 years back, for a developer, not a person on a single team could not have, if it was a single developer, he could not never have done all these things. But now, the only thing is all this technology, this serverless technology, we have to give credit to AWS. They invented it. But when they invented it, it made it very complicated for an average Joe developer. Now what Netlify is doing is they are trying to become the new Microsoft. Microsoft got all its prominence by developing tools which were very easy to use. And we understand why Microsoft becomes such a huge company. That they created tools which anybody could use. Anybody, by mean a medium level developer could use. Of course, it was not a no development, no code tool. But the thing is, that's why Visual Basic was so popular. That is why after after C++, Java was so popular that it makes things life easy for developers. And Netlify is doing that. Now let's deploy it on Netlify.
Okay, so first what we need to do is we need to create a repository. So I have already created demo Gatsby Netlify repo. I'll just integrate with my project. So I have pushed the code on the repository. Okay, sorry, I just committed it. Git push origin master. It will push the code, so we'll not be deploying manually from the Netlify command from here. We'll just directly go with the. Okay, so we have a code over here. Everything is set. We'll copy this. I'll go to the Netlify. Good thing is we can have as many sites we want in Netlify, so we don't have to worry about it.
The only thing I dislike about Netlify is that their identity APIs are very expensive. They have given only 1,000 users per month.
Yes.
This is not, it's a very expensive way of logging in. And I think they made a mistake on this. They can really become a major company in the world if they don't do these kind of things. But of course, they have to make money somehow.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the master Gatsby build, it's everything is same. Just you need to see again that in netlify.yml, I have mentioned the functions folder as well. So you don't need to do anything. It will deploy function itself. We don't have to worry about as well. So I'll deploy the site. Running the build. So the good thing is with the Netlify Contentful, as we have seen, so all the static content we can at the content we need at the build time, we can get from the Contentful, and we have any particular logic that is coming that needs to be done at the runtime. Let's say user login or any other logic that you need to be done with the at the runtime. So for that you can use your serverless functions, or you can call the API any API. So the way we have called this API from here. So it's like any fetch call to any function. So as we have seen previously, the fetch functions, we can call any API, we can call our functions from here. The difference now you can see it's trying to deploy function as well. Trying to deploy function as well. Site is live now, so let's go to the site URL. Now you can see. Hello, new update.
You can also see the thing from the server is coming a little bit slowly. Could you refresh it so that everybody can notice it?
Yes, sir.
You can also see over here in network tool, you will have the call for the hello function. So you can see it's sending the request to the server.netlify function hello, and you will have the response. This is the response we are receiving, and we are manipulating at the client side. Now, if everything is done, if I want to make any change, let's say I have changed the function, I need to push the code.
This combination of GitHub, this combination of headless CMS, this serverless platform, and Jamstack and Gatsby has made the development stack really powerful.
Well, this one push command will send data to the GitHub, commit to the GitHub, and it will identify the Netlify. So what Netlify will do is Netlify build your site. So while the building, if you have a contentful connection, so it will fetch data from the contentful and it will build your static site, and it will also deploy the function, and everything will be on Netlify, and you just need to run your access your static website.
Also, all the guys don't do again and again this CI/CD. Don't push code again and again on GitHub. Otherwise, you will be charged by Netlify. There is a limited minutes to build the
300
application.
minutes. 300
Yes,
minutes. We have 300
exactly.
minutes.
300 minutes. I have faced this issue or problem. Then I
I know. You must be pushing the code every 2 minutes.
yes, sir, exactly.
So therefore, and one more thing to add, because somebody is asking this question, and let me clarify it.
Mhm.
Are these functions running on the edge? These functions are at this stage not running on the edge.
Not.
AWS has created a new technology where the functions can also run on the edges, but Netlify has not yet adopted it. But I think the whole trend is going towards your whole application, your functions, your CDN will be running on the edge. But right now, the functions are not running on the edge.
Okay, so you can see the changes. So the good, let me reiterate. The good thing is Netlify combines client and server at the single place. You need to manage your serverless functions separately. You need to manage your clients separately. You need to combine them, and you also need a client side or locally running a function so you can debug or test it as a whole application. So Netlify provides that environment, that build tool to manage all these things, and you can create those functions and you just push the command. It will go to the GitHub, and Netlify build your static side, fetch all every data which is Gatsby will going to fetch data from the contentful, and your function will be called from the Netlify server. So you can see here in Netlify functions, you have hello.js over here. So it will show you all the logs coming from the your function. So whatever function you have in your functions folder, these functions will be available here. So, we have not seen the post request, but there will be no difference. It will be very simple. You just need to call like this. So if you have done, if you have worked with the what you say fetch command, so you will not be able to. There will be no problem. This will send the post request to your function. So your function should handler function. It is not specific to the get, post, put, delete. All type of requests will receive by this handler function. You have to separately identify that if it's in a post, what you need to do. If it's a get, what you need to do. So you have to manage that yourself.
Okay, thank you, Zeeshan. You have done a marvelous job. Let me give you a surprise at the end of the thing. I was very impressed by Netlify Dev, and the thing is, for developers to make things easy for developers is no easy task. Then I went to their GitHub's website, and where it's an open source tool, of course, because they can make it open source because it is basically supporting their infrastructure. Anyway, the surprising thing was the main developer who is pushing the code is a Pakistani, and he is basically, all of you can go and check it out. Go to the Netlify Dev website. He's a Pakistani working from Islamabad. I don't know whether he has moved to Bay Area or not, to Silicon Valley or not, but he is from Islamabad, and he is, if you can look at the pushes of the code, let's see, Netlify CLI. Just check who is making the push.
I am on the right repo.
Yes. Anyway, we don't want to waste our time on this thing in the class, but the thing is, you can go and check it.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Okay.
And bye-bye. See you guys in the next class. Step number 18. Adil will start with step number 18 in the next class. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.